afternoon, everybody. Mike here. Hope everyone is having a great week thus far, and it is time today to answer some questions. All right, so to answer the Instagram questions, and another thing I said I was going to do is kind of flip the phone around so people could see the username and everything, but to keep this as fast as possible so we can get to every single question, I'm going to keep it streamlined, and I'm just going to read off the names, so I apologize. Some names are going to be botched horribly here today. But anyway, first question. C8 Hennefe says, what is your dream car? That would be, well, the dream car was my Corvette, which I was able to buy, but that was my realistic kind of dream car. But my ultimate dream car, if I was ever, somehow rich someday, would be a Lamborghini Aventador for sure. Kryptonite says, are you considering getting a Shelby GT350R? Because that would be epic. Hashtag dream car. Yes, that is definitely a car that is on my list for the next vehicle that I will be purchasing, so we'll have to see. The problem with the 350R is just availability and cost. Every dealership's probably going to have them marked up crazy, and I'm not going to pay 80, 90, 100 grand for a Mustang. 187 AK, what is your occupation? Well, I've talked a lot about this in some of my other investing videos and things like that, but I work in the wonderful and exciting world of finance. So you can definitely check out those videos to learn more and go a lot more in depth into that. Rocky Rigiel, LaFerrari 918 or P1? I would have to say P1. I don't know why. Out of those three brands, I like McLaren a little bit more, even though, it would be between LaFerrari and P1, but I think for me, I'd pick P1. Alex_Safety UK or Saftyuk says 2016 Nissan Titan, your thoughts? I have never liked the Titan as a truck. I don't think it looks very good, and the new one I personally think is hideous, so I would never buy one. I think it's cool that they're offering a Cummins diesel though. That's definitely a very cool thing, but definitely not the truck for me. Kontinuum, what made you a car guy? I don't really know. I've kind of been a car guy since as long as back as I can remember. I've always had little Hot Wheels cars and pushed them around on the carpet, made car noises and everything. And that's just since, like I said, since I can remember. So pretty much my entire life. Swaggity, what car would you buy for 20 grand? For 20 grand, I would try to find a 2013 Mustang GT. That would be definitely what I would get for 20 grand if I could find one for that price, because I like the 2013 the most. If not, I guess I'd pick like a 2012, but it would probably be a Mustang GT. Rubens_exotics, what was your first car? First car was a 1989 Chevy Silverado that I bought for, I think it was like $700, and it ran for 9 months, got me through a lot of high school, and then the rear end blew out. And the Car Guy 14, why is your YouTube channel named Street Speed 717? Well, I'll be the first to admit that's kind of a stupid name. Doesn't really have a meaning other than I've always liked Super Speeders Rob, so when I created an Instagram, or not an Instagram, a YouTube account, I was just like, well, Street Speed, and then 717 is my area code. So that's pretty much how the channel got its name. Not exactly a great story. If you could meet one person, who would it be? Jeremy Clarkson, no doubt about that. Honda Dirt 14, how long do you plan on keeping the Hellcat? So this was a very common one across Instagram and YouTube as well. The Hellcat I'll probably be selling here pretty soon, actually. I'd say within the next couple of months, maybe early spring, something like that, just because the market for these is still really good. If I sell it now or pretty soon, I'm pretty sure I can break about even on the car. Maybe lose like $1,000 or something like that, but they're still selling very, very well. Dodge plans on increasing production of these by 200% multiple net for the next model year for 2016. So I'm sure that will drive down used car prices. So I definitely want to probably sell this relatively soon, just because then I can make almost all my money back. Hey, Bitcoin Hibby, what is your next car, and what do you think of the Ariel Nomad and the Ariel Atom? The Ariel car is very, very cool. If I was rich and could have a track day car, I'd definitely pick the V8 one. Would be just incredible. I'd love to see what that's like. BCW 131, would you buy the Hellcat again, whether it be a newer model or a different car? So, I'm assuming you're saying if I were to sell the Hellcat and get something else, would I ever get another Hellcat down the road? I don't think I would, just because I want to try something different. I do like this car a lot, but I don't think I'd get one again. I don't love it that much that I would get rid of it and then purchase another one at some point. D. Anthony 87, are you secretly thinking of getting a Z06 when you're done with the Cat? Well, I'm definitely thinking of getting a Z06, but it's not so much a secret. But yeah, that's definitely one of the cars that is on my list of things that I'm considering. Joe_Blessing 1970, what do you think about the 2016 Camaro being closer to the GT350 and not the GT? I think that's interesting. I think that if people who have driven the car are to be believed and the stats on paper are to be believed, the new Camaro pretty much blows the Mustang out of the water. So yeah, I guess you could step it up and compare it to the GT350. As good as the new Camaro is, I don't think it's quite the GT350 level. The GT350, they're probably similar weight although I think actually the Camaro is a little bit lighter than that car as well. But the GT350 has a lot more power as well. But that's definitely interesting. You know, that's something that I'd like to see, like a Motor Trend comparison, somebody who can get access to those cars. I'd be happy to do a comparison of those two cars. So Ford and Chevy, if you're listening, send a couple of new Camaros and Mustang GT350s my way. Troy Sowers, what ideas should we have for our collaboration video with my Lamborghini? So a little bit of background information. Troy is a guy who actually lives in Mechanicsburg, about 15 minutes away from me, has a beautiful Verde Ithaca Gallardo, and hopefully we're going to be making a video with that car soon, and with the Hellcat we'll do something interesting. So anything you want to do, man, with a Lamborghini, I'm happy. It doesn't matter if it's just me standing around the car. That's perfectly fine. Definitely looking forward to that. Aaron from _Titanimus, what do you think about the Australian HSV Gen F2 GTS? I have no idea. That Chevy Guy 99, do you get a lot of girls' numbers from driving these vehicles? Well, I've been in a relationship for over 2 years, almost 3 years, so no, I certainly do not get girls' numbers while driving these cars. But you get like minimal attention from girls in this thing, and in the Corvette as well. Nobody wants to admit it, but most of your attention when you have a car is from a bunch of guys, and in the Corvette it was mostly old men. You know, that's just how it goes. And honestly, the kind of girl who's gonna like you for your car, you don't want that kind of girl anyway, unless it's just for a night or whatever. But we won't get into that. The Drew Duvall, what horsepower figures do you think are reasonable for a first or second car? Yeah, I think it all depends on the person. You know, I think you can go pretty fast right away. You just have to be respectful of the car. You got to respect the power, and you have to be responsible with it. It's more about the maturity of the person. It really has nothing to do with the car. It's all about the person. You know, I've seen, you know, back when I was in high school, I've seen kids that wreck 150 horsepower front wheel drive car, and I've seen kids that, you know, their parents maybe had money or whatever, bought them a brand new 350 horsepower whatever, and they didn't wreck it. So it's all about the person. Aaron _SVHB, would you ever leave your job to become a full-time YouTuber? Well, I hope to retire early if everything goes according to plan. So I guess then my only job would be the YouTube videos. So you could say that. Then yeah, I'd probably I guess you would say leaving my job to become a full-time YouTuber, which, you know, I absolutely love making videos. So that would be that would honestly be a dream come true. Camiro Rubino, I'm so sorry, I'm screwed up these names horribly. What does your workout regimen look like? I usually have a 5-day workout cycle. Kind of do buys and tries on one day, back and delts on another day, chest has its own day, legs has its own day, and you know, then on the 5th day I usually just do cardio and abs or something like that. Pot0107, how tall are you? I'm short. I'm about 5'9", 5'9", about 185 pounds. C_Fet99, if the Hellcat Charger came with a manual option, do you think you would have gotten that rather than the Challenger? I would not, just because I personally prefer 2 doors, and I like the styling of the Challenger a little bit better. But I have to be honest, the styling of the Charger Hellcat has really grown on me after I've seen a couple. It's really pretty cool, but I still think I'd pick the Challenger. Grumpycat _1, are you planning on doing any mods for the Hellcat or keeping it stock? I am definitely keeping the car stock simply because I'm selling it so soon, but if I knew I were going to be keeping this for 6 months, I would definitely straight pipe it. I would love to hear what this thing sounds like. Ty Plunkett, what do you personally prefer, turbo or supercharger? And if Dodge made the Hellcat in a supercharger or turbo, which would you pick? You know, for power and everything, I prefer like a twin turbo setup, just because you can't get any more badass than that. You know, like the twin turbo Gallardos and all that crazy stuff. But American Muscle is cool with a supercharger as well. So if I had the option of a single turbo Hellcat or the supercharged Hellcat, I'd probably go superchargers, because I think it fits this car really well. Patrick D, what cars are you considering to buy next? Z06 maybe? Yep, definitely Z06 is on the list. GT350R, possibly a Gallardo. We'll see where my financial situation is at. But yeah, definitely still a lot on the list that I'm considering at this point. GA Belt _ what cars would you recommend for teens that want a sporty car? You know, that's such a tough question. I get that a lot. You know, what would be a good first car? And there's so many awesome ones out there that it's all about personal preference. You know, if you want something like a small hatch, GTI, you want rear-wheel drive fun, definitely go with a Mustang. There's the cool thing about the time that we live in, you know, this isn't like the mid-2000s. There's so much amazing affordable stuff out there with a lot of power and a ton of fun for the money. So you know, really about personal preference. For me, like I said, first car dealing with like maybe 20 grand or something like that, or a little bit less, I'd probably go Mustang GT. Eric Jordan Ortiz, what's your opinion on domestic versus import? Side note, I always see you around and drive a Honda Civic. Domestic versus import, it doesn't really matter to me. Like I've always said, I judge a car based on how good the car is, don't really care about what country it came, you know, and that's such an antiquated thing to say one car is domestic or one car is import or what country it's from. You know, cars today are built from all over the world, so it's really never mattered to me where the car comes from. Cole Bartkovic, why did you like the manual training over the auto for the Hellcat? I just like driving a manual transmission, and I wanted to try one in a 700 horsepower car. I thought it would be fun. Andrew Hild 4, Camaro or Mustang? So for new, the latest generation, I would go Camaro for sure, but for the older ones like 2013, I would go Mustang, which is like the third time during this video I've said that car, so you can tell I really like the 2013-14 Mustangs. AJM399, what's your favorite food and what is your favorite thing about the Hellcat? Favorite food, that's impossible to answer, but definitely either Mexican or Italian. I could eat both of those for the rest of my life and never complain whatsoever. And favorite thing about the Hellcat would be 707 horsepower. I_date myself. If you were to get a V6, what model vehicle would it be from? Chevy, Ford, or Dodge? Well, considering those brands, I'm assuming you're talking about Camaro, Mustang, and Challenger here. Personally, I would never get a V6 in those cars, but if I had to, it would be the Camaro just because it's the lightest and will probably do the best with the V6. Stock_STI, how do you find a passion for a career? I would say that you can't really find a passion for a career. You know, I think you have to find what you're passionate about or where life kind of leads you, and then figure out how to make your career out of that rather than the other way around. You know, I think that's really the only thing I can say to that. Like, I didn't know that I would ever work in finance. I didn't know that I would ever make YouTube videos, but I just kind of did the things I liked, and it led me to this. So for me, I would say it's all about just finding what you're passionate about and then seeing if you can create a career out of that. BRAD97, would you rather lick peanut butter off of a guy's foot or marry an elephant? Does that even marry an elephant? Obviously. What the hell would I not want to marry an elephant? Pro5 photography. What do people think when they see you get out of the Hellcat? You said you got some attention with the Vette when people noticed it was yours or when you told them. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Even though the Hellcat is actually worth more than the Corvette, you know, the Corvette, every once in a while, and not really in person, but on YouTube, you know, you'd have somebody say like, oh, I bet your parents bought you that car. I got one person, I think one or two people in public that were like, nice car your parents got, or something stupid like that. But what's funny is even though the Hellcat's more expensive, I haven't gotten anything like, even on YouTube, I haven't gotten anything like, you know, somebody bought that car for you or whatever, which I find interesting. I guess the Challenger just doesn't have the same image as the Corvette does, so I don't really get much of that attention in this car. Car_guy_11, why did you start with an auto C7? So, bit of background information here. Back when I first started my YouTube channel, and those videos are still up, you can go check them out. I ordered, I had one of the first built, actually, 2015 Corvettes with the new 8-speed auto. And even though I'm a manual fan, I decided to go with the auto just because I would try it out. You know, I'd always been driving manual cars, and the new 8-speed had so much hype around it, so I went with that. Long story short, the transmission ended up taking a dump on me, so I found a dealership to trade in my automatic Corvette for a manual for a straight trade. I had about 1,000 miles on the car at the time, so I went back to the manual. But I wanted to try something different and new, and I ended up regretting it a little bit, but it was a great transmission when it was working properly. So Charlie._IE, I saw your vids where you go to Hunt Valley Car Show. What is your favorite car that you've ever seen there? That's a tough one. Favorite car that I've ever seen there, I don't know. The GT3 Martini livery I like a lot. I saw a Huracan there once that I like a lot. You know, I don't know. I think it's impossible for me to pick a favorite, but it would probably, just because I'm so impartial and I love Lamborghinis so much, any Lamborghini anywhere is my favorite car. SF Car Scene, when are you getting your supercar? Well, hopefully in the next few months. Again, it all depends on my financial situation at the time, but I'm looking at something more of an exotic kind of supercar this time around. But like I said, we'll just have to wait and see and what is on the market and what's affordable. Lancio Evan 427, talk about the times you've been pulled over, how fast you've ever been pulled over driving a car, or any close calls with the cops involving speeding or racing. You know, I don't really do a lot of street racing, and when I do, it's always in Mexico. So Don't really have any close call stories like that. The fastest I've ever been pulled over was on the PA Turnpike. I got pulled at like 94. And he just let me off with the failure to obey or whatever, so no points, just a fine. So very lucky there, because I think at the time the speed limit was like 60 or 65, so I was going considerably over that, but I ended up getting away with it, so to speak. Okay, so moving right along, Niner Empire 74, what did your parents and family think about your financial decision to spend to buy a car of that type? Well, like I said, my parents were divorced when I was 3 or 4 years old, and I moved out of my mom's house when I was 18, so quite honestly, my parents and family don't really have anything to say about my decisions. It's just kind of the way my life has gone. BC Beast 12, if you were to buy a Z06, would it fit in your garage? Yeah, definitely. My Corvette fit in there. The Z06 is wider, but it's like by 10 millimeters or something, so it wouldn't be a problem. If this thing fits in the garage, almost anything could fit in the garage. Lambo Deb, heard you had a secret lover. Care to enlighten us? Don't know anything about that, but maybe he knows something I don't know. Tim Hatter, what's the fastest speed you've ever gone in the Hellcat? Well, the Hellcat actually records that, which I found out the other day, and the fastest speed that I've hit in the car is 138 miles an hour. Now, of course, that was on a closed course, so that's important to note that. C Martinez _70, would you ever buy a BMW M4? I don't think I would, just because those cars aren't for me. I prefer more kind of raw power than that. BMWs, although they're awesome and you can't go wrong. I mean, if someone were to buy an M4, I'd love to drive one. It'd be a great car, but just not really for me. Jim Chen, I am thinking of buying a manual C7. I've owned a number of Audis in the past. The C7 is going to be my first manual sports car and my first rear-wheel drive car as well. Do you think the C7 would be a good choice? Yeah, I definitely think it is. Kind of like the question a long time ago, not a long time ago, like 10 minutes ago. But like I said, it's all about just respecting the car. If this is going to be your first rear-wheel drive car, take some time to learn how to control that and deliberately go out somewhere if it's raining and, get the back end out so you can experience that. But definitely, yeah, I think the C7 Corvette's a great car for anybody. Nagy Bahar, sorry, the names are just killing me. Do you think electric cars will ever become as awesome to drive as cars like the Hellcat? Well, I think, you look at the Tesla with like ludicrous mode, they're already incredible to drive and, ridiculous. And I'm sure that, the time is upon us, if it's not already here, where electric cars will surpass the performance of internal combustion engines. I think that time is already upon us, but I don't think they'll ever have the theater of an engine, and especially a high horsepower engine with and you can't make an electric noise sound good, and an engine sounds so good, and I don't know why. It's really stupid, but they just do. So I don't think electric cars will ever be as awesome or fun to drive as internal combustion engine cars, just for a lot of reasons. Like I said, the theater of a car like this is unbeatable and something that you just can't replace. Joey Gish 2101, could you make more videos about your truck, and are you getting a new truck? And actually, a few people have asked this, and yes, I am getting a new truck. I love my truck as it is, but unfortunately, before I owned it, it came from Maine, so now the frame, and I should have taken control of this years ago when I got it, but I didn't maintain the rust as well as I should have, and I let it go for too long, and now the frame is bad in some spots. And also, there are things I want to do to that truck that it would be better suited just to get a newer one. So ultimately, that's what I'm going to do probably here pretty soon. I'll probably be getting a new car and a new truck at relatively the same time. Andrew Charles 7, how much money did you invest when you started in stocks? I started pretty much with nothing. It was like, I don't know the exact dollar amount. It was right around like $3,000, like $3,000 to $5,000. And I get that question a lot. How much should I start with? Honestly, anything is fine, but with a small amount of money, your returns are going to be basically nothing. But you might as well start early, as far as I'm concerned. It's King Julian. Would you ever get a Nissan GTR? I don't know. I don't really think that I would. Nissan GTR, as good as a car as it is, it's not really my thing. I would want the Nismo, and I would not buy a GTR for 150 grand. There's a lot I would buy before that car for that kind of money, so I don't think I ever will. EcoBoost RS1, how do you think the climate deal in Paris will affect the car culture in the US? Do you care about the environment at all, or global warming a myth? If it snows in your area, will you be drifting in the snow and making a video? And which Fast and the Furious video is your favorite? Well, the climate deal, I think that's a good thing because it's made cars so much better than they were even just 5 to 10 years ago. If it snows in your area, will you be doing a snow drifting video? Yeah, I'm going to definitely do something with a little video like that. And the Fast and Furious that was my favorite was definitely, that's a tough one, but I would have to say the first or second one, just because I like the original one. I love the new ones and the crazy, kind of world, like superhero vibe you get from it, superhero team, whatever. But for me, the original ones, and I'm sure this is a lot of nostalgia talking, but the original ones were always something very close to my heart. YouTube EA40, have you ever considered an Aston Martin or an Audi R8? Yes, I definitely would consider an Audi R8, but you know, I think, like I said, for the money, I'd rather just spend a little bit more and get a Gallardo or something like that. Aston Martin, not really. You know, I wouldn't really want the Aston Martin that I can afford, so therefore I wouldn't really look at them. Oh, in 2003, what do you think of Shmee 150's McLaren 675 LT? I think it's incredible. All his cars are awesome, and you know, he must have some serious cash with all the cars he has, but you know, that's awesome. I'm all for it. I would do the same thing if I could. You know, his car collection is awesome at this point. Garrett TYR, will you be at Chrysler Nationals in Carlisle or at Corvettes at Carlisle? Definitely will be at Corvettes. I don't know about Chrysler Nationals, but probably will, especially, you know, if by some chance I were to still have the Hellcat, I would definitely take it there. Multani for Life 01. I'm looking for a car, and it's going to be a 2016 Dodge Charger Hellcat or Challenger Hellcat. By the way, I have a family. Which one should I get? Well, since the family thing, definitely go with the four-door Charger. It's just going to be more convenient for you. Jake Roth 1. How are you able to afford the Hellcat so young? How much do you make a year? I make exactly $1 million. But on a serious note, check out the videos of buying my dream car at 21 or some of my other finance-related videos. IGBO Muscle, similar question. Definitely check out the Buying My Dream Car at 21 video. Kenny.Canner, do you like electric cars? Yeah, I like them. The Tesla's an awesome car. I don't really like the other ones, like the Mitsubishi Maiev or whatever it's called. But, you know, I think they're the future, and I'm excited to see what other exciting electric cars are going to come out. Is the 700, Tio Guy fucking Ramos? What kind of name that is? Is a 700 horsepower manual car easy for the average manual driver, or does it take much bigger skills? You know, I'd say in a car like this, the clutch is heavier, but it's still really easy to drive. I think if you're capable of driving a manual Civic, you should have no problem driving this, honestly. Spider 9131. If you had a choice of an Evo or an STI, which would you choose? I'd go Evo just because they're a little bit more rare than Subarus. I see like 10 Subaru WRXs and STIs a day here pretty much. I mean, I'm sure they're not all STIs, but the Evo is just a little bit more rare. TyVow96, would you ever get a Shelby Mustang? Definitely something I'm considering. Danny_Dean, have you ever drove a Chrysler 300? I have not. Transportation photography COS. If you could murder out any car or truck, which would it be? I don't really like the color black for cars. It's too hard to take care of for me. Now, I don't want to spend 18 hours polishing a car. So I really wouldn't. If I had to, I'd probably go Lamborghini Aventador just because I could pretend it was the Batmobile. 8 Barrett 8. How much is your insurance on your Hellcat? Because I want one, but at the same time, I don't want to pay an outrageous number. So who are you insured by? My insurance company is Progressive, and I'll tell you this, that I pay half for this what I paid for the Corvette. So, and the Corvette was doable. So, you know, this is not bad at all, honestly, for the type of car that it is. Anthony Morvillo, have you been hitting the gym? I've been hitting the gym since I was 18. Obviously, I mean, it doesn't show. I'm not a bodybuilder or anything like that, but I lift recreationally, I'd say. You know, just pretty much for fun. Christian C16, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? I would probably go to Europe. It's a place that I have not been that I would really like to go to at some point. Sean1523, did you ever play any sports? What made you get into cars? So, been into cars all my life, don't really know why. In sports, I played soccer and wrestled in high school. Ibram_Fami, what are the pros and cons about the Hellcat and the Corvette? I talked a lot about that in the which car do I prefer video, so definitely check that out. Rob_Garcia91, Porsche Cayman GT4 or Mustang Shelby GT350R? Definitely would go 350R because the Cayman GT4, as awesome as it is, like I said, I like more power, so I'd probably go with 350R. How much is your insurance? We just talked about that actually. If you had $100,000, what car would you buy? For $100,000, I'd probably go with, that's a really tough one. For $100,000, I'd probably go with the new Z06. That White Kid 7, if you were given $250,000 for a car of your dreams, what would it be? For 250 G's, definitely get a Lamborghini Huracan. Brooks Hickling, what's your opinion on American muscle versus foreign imports? So we talked about that a little bit at the beginning. Roman Hull C, when did you move out of your parents' house and how many more years of school are left for you? Well, I'm pursuing my MBA at this point, so I got roughly 4 or 5 years left of school, depends on how things go, and moved out when I was 18. Father Alex, can you make another how to drive a manual video, please? What's a good car to start with to learn manual? Anything that's cheap, but you know, don't be afraid to start on anything. And as far as making another manual video goes, the one I already have has about 500,000 views, so you know, it seems to have done really well, so I don't really see the need to make another one for right now. Exotic Cars 19, what car do you see yourself owning in 5 years? In 5 years, hopefully an Aventador. RP Productions, what's your latest opinion on the 2016 Camaro SS? I think it's, we talked about this a little bit already, but I think it's an incredible car, and you know, I really hope that I get to drive one at some point. Exotic Cars 19 again, when are you coming to Austin, Texas? You know, that would depend on when you're gonna buy me a plane ticket to come down there and to pay for the shipping for my Hellcat. But as soon as you get that done, I'll be down there in a heartbeat. How J_Cruiser98, how challenging was it to save for your Corvette? I would say not really that hard, just because like I lived that lifestyle, so it wasn't like I had to constantly fight with myself about spending money. That's just kind of always how I was, so it really isn't hard for me to save money over time. Is your Hellcat a cop magnet? I would say not really. I drive past cops all the time, even speeding sometimes, and I really don't get pulled over. Maybe I'm just lucky, but I did already get pulled over in this car, which I have a video of in the channel if you haven't seen it already. It was about 2 weeks after I bought the car, so I guess, you know, in some ways, it's definitely a car that will be noticed by the police. Chris_G1221, Mustang GT50 or Camaro SS, both 2016s. So for new, I'd go Camaro SS. Chris Farrell 24, I've been looking into starting a driving vlog series on YouTube. How did you start, and do you have any tips for when I do start? I get asked this question a lot. You know, do you have any tips for an up-and-coming YouTube channel? And first of all, I'm flattered that people would seek my advice because I'm a complete amateur. My entire channel is a GoPro Hero 4 camera, and that's it, with a tripod. And now I just finally bought a microphone for the GoPro and a gimbal, whatever, however you say it, thing to stabilize camera shots. So but I would say the only advice I can give, because I really don't know what I'm doing at all, is just to be passionate and do things you like, talk about things you like, and have fun with it, and you know, everything else will fall into place. Alonzi_TZ, I don't know if it's just me, but did you know you're looking almost identically similar to the anime voice actor Bryce Papenbrook? Well, if he's a good-looking dude, that's great, and if he's ugly, I'm sorry, man, this is the only face I got. Red 12C, do you want to race? If you do, in fact, I'm going to click on his name here. He's in California. It would appear as though he owns a 12C. I would absolutely love to race a McLaren 12C, but California is quite a distance. Victor Tack, have you ever let someone drive your car? Who and why? I've let my friend drive this car just because, you know, let him try it out. And the other people in my life don't drive it manual, so they can't even, if they wanted to, drive the cars that I own. Gold Pony 21, if you bought an import, which one would it be? If I had to buy an import, which I guess you consider anything, would be a Lamborghini Gallardo, but import more often than not refers to Japanese cars, so if I had to buy one, I would buy a GTR. Mo_life, spelled with a Y, best financial advice for a community college freshman who wants to buy his first car? Well, I would say save up until you can get the car that you really want. You know, don't make the mistake of compromising. Save up for the car that you really are going to love and enjoy. That's what I would say as far as buying a car is concerned. Lil_Saya, why didn't you get the Hellcat Charger? I just like to live life on the edge. AKA Bearcat, what's your opinion on the stance movement? To each their own is all I can say to that. I would never do something like that to my car, but I think in some applications it looks pretty cool, and you know, it's, like I said, something for everybody. Quinn Devries, would you rather be homeless and live in a nice car, or have a home and not own a car? I would definitely choose the house over the car, that's for sure. Mike the Boss 881, which do you prefer, your Z06 or your Hellcat? Well, having not driven a Z06, I can't really say, but probably out of the two, I would prefer the Z06, just knowing what I like, but we would definitely have to see until hopefully maybe someday if I ever get to drive one or own one. Camran Charger, would you plan on buying a Dodge Charger as a second car? Absolutely not. Hunter King, when you get rid of the Hellcat, what kind of car would you consider getting? So we talked about that a lot. There are still a ton of cars on my list for right now. EJ.Papa, what are your thoughts on the new two-wheel drive Huracan? Love it. I don't like the front end styling though. I think the original Huracan styling is better, but for me, I would definitely go rear-wheel drive. Just like I'm looking at Gallardos, I may have to get an LP 564 if I end up getting a Gallardo, but I would prefer the 552. Bone, the 007. Are you going to make any more cars and coffee videos? Yep, definitely. For next season, I will definitely be out there and hopefully in my new car. Brennan_Davis, if you were to buy a new car in the future, would you get rid of your Hellcat like your Corvette? Definitely, because I just don't have the room to store more than one car, is the honest truth. And, you know, I would need the trade-in money for this to buy a new car. Anonymous 5143 already talked about that. He asked about how long I'm keeping the Hellcat. Janino AK47, how much you life, bro? I'm assuming you meant to say lift, but not that much. You know, I'm not any type of power lift or anything like that, so nothing impressive. B-Rob 440, why don't you tint your windows? I don't like window tint, just don't like it. And I live in Pennsylvania where it's cold most of the time, so it's not really necessary for where I live. Ginger Gabe, do you feel that a lot of capital is needed in order to make money off stocks at a younger age? I would say, yeah. I mean, the more money you have to invest, the easier it gets for you. And of course, you know, the more money you have, if you make 5% off of $100, that's nothing. 5% off of $100,000 is a lot more. So definitely helps to have money, but also at the same time, not necessary. All right, so scrolling down here, and yes, we are in fact done. So looking at the GoPro timer, it did take a pretty long time. Of course, some of it will be edited out. I stopped to take a little breaks and drinks and stuff in between, but that was very fun. I love reading through all the questions, and you know, thank you all so much for your responses. Definitely was cool to see all of the questions out there, and I'm glad that it was a video that people enjoyed. So like I said at the beginning, something that I can definitely make in the future. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and take care. Have a great day.